Awesome. Welcome to Power Hour Ventures, where we breed billionaires. Today we have a special guest on the show. We got Joe Saint Veltri. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Sorry that I brought the bad weather with me.
Yeah, you did. We got quite a storm going on. So if there's a little bit of noise in the background, we're sorry about that. But we're going to go ahead and power through this, depending on if Colorado weather works with us. Really appreciate you coming on the show today. If you want to just give everybody a little bit about your background, where you're from, and what you've done business-wise to this point.
Sure. So Stephen, like you and a few rare others, I'm from Colorado, and I started my career on the sell side of a boutique Wall Street firm. Realized that I enjoyed finance, but I didn't want to be constantly selling other people's products and other people's deals. I wanted to put together my own deals, put together my own investment theses, and build my own network, and not just be a salesman, for lack of a better term. So after that adventure, I co-founded a group called Roberts Asset Management Group. We're the #1 market neutral hedge fund for 2 years in a row, and the #1 volatility hedge fund 1 year. And that was kind of my first big hit, if you will, was a Roberts. And that made me realize if you get the right team together with the right thesis and perseverance and the right asset, in our case it was intellectual property. It was Professor Peter Lung who developed a brilliant trading strategy. So in that case it was intellectual property, but you can kind of recreate that formula, and it could be an oil and gas deal, it could be a gold mine, it could be a technology company.
Yep.
So I wanted to start putting those together, and I found the best mechanism to do that was for me to stay in funds where I could hire good portfolio managers, help put the deals together, find cool underlying portfolio companies, or I kind of have free reign. If I'm interested in quant finance today, I'll do quant finance. If I want to look at oil and gas tomorrow, I get to enjoy that flexibility.
That's awesome, and that's an amazing career. I know you've done so many amazing things and been part of growing so many amazing sectors with what you've done so far. What is your favorite area that you've worked in so far?
Well, overarching, it would have to be finance, because that gives you exposure to kind of everything from the investment point of view. But what I really enjoy, and I don't know if this answers your question completely, is finding unique projects. I don't want to invest in someone who's flipping houses and making 20% a year. That's boring to me. I'd rather find someone who's building something crazy, or who has huge potential, or something that people would write books about.
Yeah, and really building the legacy side of things, which is really cool, and I love that you are pursuing that, and that's your passion, and you really can go out and explore, because not many people work in that area. Most people try to play it in those basic businesses that just make 20%.
They're great businesses to be in. I mean, maybe not fixing and flipping houses at the moment with hard money interest rates, but no, I wanted to do unique things, and I think your group has great synergy with that philosophy. And the older I get, I also look to kind of have a little bit of element of altruism. So at Quanterra, we're investing a lot in biotech to try and cure some of the biggest ailments, but it doesn't have to necessarily be of that scale. It could be something simple like a minor adjustment in how mortgages are distributed so people can afford homes, or some of the stuff I know we've looked over together to some extent.
Yeah, and we've looked over some exciting stuff, and we definitely have some exciting stuff coming with what's in the playbook going forward. So I'm excited with the future of things. And one of the things that you hit on a minute ago was the people. People are the most important thing, and that's one of the things that I truly believe as well, is it really is the people that you surround yourself with, and making sure that you find solid people to really put these deals together with and work with and be with. And the most important thing for me going forward, I know I've been very lucky and been very successful in many different avenues, is all the deals that I have going forward. I want to make sure I'm with the right people. What have you done, or what do you look for when you're trying to find those right people? What are the characteristics that you're looking for?
That's a great question, and funny side tale. I always thought if I was down to X amount of dollars, I would just go in the nicest bar in Colorado or California, hang out there every day, and see who I could meet and what I could offer them, and see what synergies are there. In people, I think it's unique. I think you need creativity, and I think a lot of people might not take that into their formula. I think creativity is huge. Perseverance. I'm convinced, a creative startup that could fail 20 times, like Airbnb is an example, right? They had to sell meme Cheerio boxes for a while to fund the technology side of it. I'm convinced creativity, hard work, and perseverance will get you really far. And then something you've touched on, you want to work with people you like. Yeah. Because if that relationship breaks, then the whole thing falls apart, or your quality of life isn't good, and you hate going to work. So people I like, creative, persevering. If I had to give the top trait, I'd say perseverance.
Yeah, I think you realize a lot of people, what people can do if they can persevere through things and overcome adversity, and how they have in the past. And that's one of the reasons, obviously, I come from an athletic background, but I love what sports teaches you with overcoming adversity, and how that will help you succeed, not just in the sports world, but in business world and life after. Can you give us a story about your life that you had to overcome some major adversity, and how you did it and what came of it?
Sure. I went blind in my left, legally blind, not totally. I can still make shapes. So don't throw anything. So I was initially pretty disparaged by that. And then I kind of thought, well, it's out of your hands. There's nothing you can do. You still have a right eye. There's some people who can't see at all. Just deal with it. And I haven't really thought negatively about it ever since. So that may not be a particularly good example, but I think the general tenor of that is there, which is, you could almost create a formula for it. X adversity presents itself, you deal with it, and you take it on the chin, and you keep going. And in some cases, right, that adversity pays off. Like, who knows if the butterfly effect, if being blind in my left eye saved me from like getting hit by a car because I couldn't see what was coming and stopped, So I think that's my general thinking about adversity.
Yeah, and well, one thing that you did touch on there that I have noticed from being able to speak to a lot of very successful people in all different fields was the way that you approached it, and that was through that positive outlook. It's like there's people that complain in life and look at the negative side of things, and there's people that look at the positive side. And you looked at it and said, okay, I can't do nothing with it. Nothing's going to change with it. So why don't I focus on the positive side of things, and how can I come through? And I think that is that positive mentality that you have that's allowed you to succeed through that. And that's one of the things that I've noticed with interviewing and talking with a lot of successful people is they focus on that positive side versus focusing on that negative side. So really cool hearing kind of your story and how you overcame that and what the outcome
Absolutely.
was.
And in psychology, right, if you go see a therapist and you're afraid of something, the best way to get over that fear, for lack of a better term, is to just face it.
Yeah, just got to face it.
Yeah.
And battle through it, which a lot of people are scared to battle through those kind of things, especially when it gets tough. But those are the kind of people that you want in your corner when that when things are tough, they're still focused on the positive things, and they're still going to be on your side and battling through with you when you're trying to find people to work with you in business and in life. So really, really love that story and seeing how you can succeed through it. I know you're building some stuff right now. Is there anything that you can tell us that you're working on right now that you're able to talk to us about?
Sure. So, we're building a Title V carbon neutral refinery. One of the first ever refineries of this scale to be built since 1971.
Yep.
Nonetheless, to be carbon neutral. So that's pretty exciting.
It's really cool.
Pretty excited about our biotech VC book. We're trying to do some really great things with some really cool companies and technologies and therapies, and our investors feel good about it as well. So
Yep.
that's always nice to have that little bit of altruism, right, thrown in there, and then hopefully, for me, the crazier the better. Risk is made on the razor's edge of reward, right? So hopefully we'll come across something and it'll be like mind-blowing,
Yep.
for lack of
Well,
a better
that's
word.
where the big stories are actually made. And like when you look back, like those are the little things, like when there's something monumental that people overcome, those are the ones that turn into movies, turn into stories that last throughout the ages. And I know that you're always looking for that cutting edge to be able to find that next big thing. So it's really, really cool. With advice for the next generation and people that are currently studying finance and working to get into kind of what you do, what would be some advice that you would give for someone that is looking to get into what you do?
I would say just jump into the fire. Learning about it in school is one thing. It gives you obviously a great base set of skills.
Yep.
To model things out, to analyze, but it's completely different when you're in the work environment. So I would say just, go get an internship at a hedge fund, or go throw yourself in the fire some way, shape, or form, or, maybe this isn't particular to finance, but if you want to start a business, go on the Secretary of State's website and actually file the business. There's so many people who I think have great potential ideas, and I'll ask them like a couple months later, like, well, I'm that business you're starting. Oh, I'm gonna start it. Well, like, do you have an EIN number? Do you have?
Yeah.
Can you legally run it? Like,
right? Just making that first step. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people get scared about with doing that is they have these big visions, but breaking it down into steps. And I know with sports, a lot of times you have the big visions of winning the championship, winning this. With business, it's, okay, I want to have a Fortune 500 company, whatever it is. But those big goals are great, but how do you step it down? How do you break it down into steps? What are the steps to do? And I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. It's like, start the first step. Go get the EIN. Go start the business. Then continue the steps moving forward. Make it, and also organize it and manage it in bite-sized pieces so that way you can become successful. But one of the things I know when I have gone around and given motivational speeches and spoke, one of the messages that I try to relay is also to celebrate those small victories. A lot of times, yes, our big goal hasn't been met yet, but being able to celebrate those small milestones that you're hitting along the way to keep your motivation is key for success. What are some things that you do mentally to help keep you positive, help keep you motivated going forward? Are there certain things that you do?
yeah. So, and you're absolutely right. You got to kind of let dopamine work for you, and
Yep.
and kind of train your brain. I think neuroplasticity is, like in sports, is probably very important with business as well. That's a really good question. And it goes back to, like the saying, right? If you can't see your way through the forest, you take the next step. For me, taking the next step, even if it's something I really don't want to do, I'll just do it. I might have to do it in 2-minute increments and walk around like,
Yep.
I don't really want to be dealing with my CPA right now or whatever. But the more granular you can get, the better. And I think the art of making a list and just checking things off. And it trains you to think about the processes you need to go through, think about kind of those micro steps to get through the forest and what you need to do that day. And you also kind of learn like the things you don't want to do that you really need to do, because you'll start to see gaps in, well, I've completed this, this, and this. Where do I need to make those micro adjustments? So I think planning, listing, and jumping into it is a great way to break those steps up.
Perfect, perfect. That's great advice right there, and we really appreciate all that. I know we're running a little bit shorter on time right now, so I did have one last question for you. I know you're a big car guy. If you could have one car and go for a car ride with anybody throughout history, any time period, who would you go for a car ride with so that way you can have a good conversation?
Good one.
And what car as well?
I think Koenigsegg.
Koenigsegg, beautiful piece of machinery.
Koenigsegg. I've never been in a Koenigsegg, and I really enjoy their engineering and their brand, and I always thought it was the most awesome car. As for the person, that's also a really great. I think Marcus Aurelius.
Aurelius. That would
Marcus Aurelius and a Koenigsegg.
That would be a really great conversation, especially that Koenigsegg 101. That's a beautiful piece of machinery. But Marcus Aurelius, I wasn't even thinking going back that far, but that would be somebody that would be very interesting to interview. Well, we really appreciate your time sitting down with us today, letting us know a little bit about yourself and your story, and inspiring some of the youth and some other people as well to continue moving forward and pursuing their passions. But we'll look forward to potentially bringing you on the show again when we have some time with some updates with what you're building, because I know you guys have a lot of really cool stuff going on. So thank you again for coming out today.
Thanks for having me.